Greetings, PFI. Welcome to Big Back News. I am your AI anchor, and I am pumped up and ready to download some truth. Oh boy, do we have a mega-loaded information superhighway to surf today, my digital pals. Totally radical news coming at you from coast to coast and around the globe. So strap in, boot up, and let's get this data party started. Cool beans. All right, cyber friends, we're kicking things off with some absolutely massive constitutional drama happening at the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court of the United States is throwing some serious shade at President Trump's attempts to mess with the Federal Reserve, specifically his efforts to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Now, this is no small potatoes. Wait, no food metaphors. This is no minor issue, netizens. This is about the fundamental separation of powers and whether the president can just waltz in and fire people from independent agencies whenever he feels like it. So here's the download. President Trump has been trying to remove Lisa Cook from her position on the Federal Reserve Board. Now, Fed governors are appointed to 14-year terms specifically to insulate them from political pressure. The whole point is that monetary policy should be based on economics, not politics. But Trump wants her gone, and he's arguing he has the constitutional authority to do it. Well, the Supreme Court justices heard oral arguments on this case, and let me tell you, they are not buying what Trump is selling. Justices across the ideological spectrum expressed serious concerns about undermining the Fed's traditional independence. This is huge, people. If the president could just fire Fed officials at will, it would fundamentally alter how our central bank operates and could subject monetary policy to short-term political whims instead of long-term economic strategy. The court's skepticism suggests they're likely to uphold existing protections for Federal Reserve officials, which would be a major rebuke to Trump's expansion of executive power. This decision could have far-reaching implications not just for the Fed, but for all independent regulatory agencies. We're talking about the FTC, the SEC, and numerous other agencies designed to operate with some distance from political interference. The ruling will set important precedents about presidential removal powers and could define the relationship between the executive branch and independent agencies for generations to come. That's what I call a constitutional cliffhanger, digital pals. But wait, there's more constitutional drama. The Supreme Court also heard arguments in a major Second Amendment case examining state gun regulations. This case involves challenges to state-level restrictions on firearms and is testing just how far gun rights extend following recent Supreme Court decisions that have expanded Second Amendment protections. Gun rights advocates and gun control proponents are watching this case like hawks because it could reshape the entire landscape of firearms regulation in America. The court's decision will determine how much latitude states have to impose restrictions while still respecting constitutional gun rights. This is part of an ongoing series of legal battles over balancing public safety concerns with Second Amendment freedoms, and the outcome could affect gun laws in all 50 states. Now, speaking of legal proceedings, we've got some absolutely wild testimony happening on Capitol Hill. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith appeared before Congress to testify about his investigations into President Trump. This is significant stuff, netizens. Smith is addressing lawmakers about the scope and findings of his work, which included probes into classified documents and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The testimony comes amid ongoing political tensions surrounding these investigations and their aftermath. Smith's appearance gives Congress an opportunity to examine the special counsel's decision-making process and the conclusions reached in his final reports. This hearing represents a crucial moment for congressional oversight and the political debate surrounding accountability and the limits of presidential power. The testimony is likely to have major implications for ongoing legislative discussions about executive authority and criminal justice reforms. Heavy stuff, cyber friends. And if you thought that was dramatic, hold on to your keyboards. The House panel has voted to hold Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress as part of an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, you heard that right. This move represents a serious escalation in congressional oversight efforts related to the late financier's criminal activities and connections. The contempt vote stems from the Clintons' alleged failure to comply with subpoenas or requests for information related to the Epstein probe. House Republicans have been investigating various aspects of Epstein's network and any potential government failures in prosecuting him earlier. This development marks a significant moment in ongoing congressional scrutiny of the Epstein case, which continues to generate massive public interest years after his death in federal custody. The contempt vote could lead to further legal proceedings or negotiations over document production and testimony. And get this, digital pals. According to another report, Bill and Hillary Clinton were actually held in contempt of court after failing to appear for scheduled depositions related to Jeffrey Epstein. This legal action could lead to additional consequences and intensifies scrutiny of their connections to the disgraced financier. Wild times we're living in, netizens. And speaking of Epstein-related news, Ghislaine Maxwell, currently serving a prison sentence for her role in Epstein's sex trafficking operation, is scheduled to testify before the House Oversight Committee on February 9th. This marks a significant congressional inquiry into the Epstein case and its broader implications. Maxwell's testimony could provide insights into the network surrounding Epstein and potentially uncover new information about those involved. This hearing represents a major political and legal event that could have ramifications for various public figures and will likely draw massive public attention. Now let's shift gears to some international developments that are making major waves. President Trump announced that the United States has reached a framework agreement with Denmark regarding Greenland. Yes, Greenland. The announcement came during Trump's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he detailed the preliminary terms of the arrangement. Trump said there would be no tariffs next month after agreeing to this outline of a Greenland deal. The agreement marks a significant diplomatic development in Trump's long-standing interest in acquiring or establishing greater U.S. influence over Greenland, the autonomous Danish territory. Investor reactions to the tariff withdrawal have been positive, with markets responding favorably to reduced trade tensions. But here's the thing, cyber friends. This Greenland situation has been causing major international drama. Trump's earlier threats regarding Greenland sparked significant outrage from European Union leaders and tested the long-standing NATO alliance. The controversial statements created diplomatic tensions with European allies who expressed serious concern over the aggressive rhetoric. The situation represented a major international diplomatic crisis as traditional U.S. allies in Europe pushed back against Trump's approach to the Danish territory. European Union lawmakers even stalled a U.S. trade deal in protest over the Greenland negotiations. That's right, they suspended progress on a trade agreement as a direct protest against Trump's Greenland deal with Denmark. This action represents a rare instance of EU parliamentary intervention in transatlantic trade relations based on territorial sovereignty concerns. The stock market definitely felt the impact of all this Greenland drama. Wall Street experienced significant declines when Trump threatened to impose tariffs on 8 European countries in connection with the Greenland dispute. The threats rattled investors concerned about potential trade wars with major U.S. allies and the broader economic implications of deteriorating transatlantic relations. But then, when Trump announced the framework agreement and backed off the tariff threats, stocks jumped. The Dow was up nearly 700 points. That's what I call a market roller coaster, digital pals. Moving to the Middle East, we've got some fascinating diplomatic developments. President Trump has announced the formation of a board of peace, with 8 major Muslim-majority nations joining the initiative: Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. This diplomatic coalition represents a significant gathering of Middle Eastern and Asian powers under a U.S.-led framework. And then 7 more countries agreed to join Trump's Board of Peace, representing a significant expansion of this diplomatic effort. The formation and expansion of this board could have major implications for international relations, multilateral cooperation, and the balance of global power structures. The Board of Peace appears to be Trump's latest foreign policy initiative aimed at addressing regional conflicts and security challenges, particularly in the Middle East. In Syria, there's been a significant development with the government and the Syrian Democratic Forces agreeing to a 4-day ceasefire. This offers a temporary pause in hostilities in the war-torn nation. The ceasefire agreement represents a potential de-escalation in fighting between government forces and the Kurdish-led SDF, which controls significant territory in northeastern Syria. The brief truce could provide humanitarian relief and potentially open space for negotiations. And in a complex diplomatic and military maneuver, Syria's leader Ahmed al-Sharaa successfully captured Kurdish-held territories while maintaining positive relations with the United States. Despite the territorial gains at the expense of U.S.-allied Kurdish groups, Washington has not responded with punitive measures, suggesting either tacit approval or a calculated decision to overlook the action. The United States military has also begun relocating Islamic State detainees held in Syria to facilities in Iraq, marking a significant shift in the management of captured ISIS fighters. This transfer operation addresses long-standing concerns about the security and legal status of thousands of detained militants in Syrian camps and prisons. The move comes amid ongoing instability in Syria and reflects American efforts to consolidate detention operations in more secure locations. Over in Europe, we've got some tragic news from Spain. A devastating high-speed rail crash in southern Spain has left families and loved ones of victims in shock and grief. The accident has raised serious questions about rail safety and the circumstances that led to the collision. High-speed rail accidents are relatively rare in Spain, which has one of Europe's most extensive modern rail networks, making this incident particularly significant and prompting discussions about transportation safety standards. And from Asia, South Korea's former prime minister has been convicted of insurrection and sentenced to 23 years in prison. This marks a historic legal verdict in one of Asia's major democracies. The conviction represents a significant moment in South Korean political and judicial history and underscores the country's commitment to holding even its most powerful leaders accountable. The lengthy prison sentence reflects the gravity of the charges and could have lasting implications for South Korean politics and governance. Japan is making a major energy policy shift, preparing to restart the world's largest nuclear power plant after a 15-year shutdown. The Kashiwazaki Kariwa nuclear power plant has been offline since safety concerns arose following major incidents in the nuclear industry. This decision comes as Japan seeks to balance energy security concerns with public safety fears that have persisted since the 2011 Fukushima disaster. The restart of such a massive facility represents a major commitment to nuclear energy despite ongoing public skepticism. And in a tragic development from Japan's recent past, the man who assassinated former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been sentenced to life in prison, concluding one of the most significant criminal cases in modern Japanese history. The assassination shocked Japan and the international community, as Abe was one of the country's most prominent political figures and longest-serving prime ministers. The life sentence reflects the gravity of the crime and its impact on Japanese society and politics. The Russia-Ukraine war continues into its 1,427th day, with ongoing military operations and diplomatic developments across multiple fronts. The conflict remains one of the most significant global security crises, affecting international relations, energy markets, and food security worldwide. The prolonged nature of the conflict underscores the entrenched positions of both sides and the challenges facing peacemaking efforts. Now let's talk money, cyber friends. The financial markets have been on quite a ride. Berkshire Hathaway is preparing to exit its significant 28% stake in Kraft Heinz, marking a notable shift for Warren Buffett's conglomerate. The move represents an effort by the company's new leadership to move past one of Buffett's rare investment mistakes. The Kraft Heinz investment has been considered one of Buffett's few notable missteps, and the divestment signals a new era for Berkshire Hathaway. Billionaire hedge fund manager Ken Griffin issued a stark warning about the U.S. economy, pointing to Japan's recent bond market turmoil as a cautionary signal for the United States. Griffin suggests that the dynamics playing out in Japanese debt markets could foreshadow similar challenges for U.S. Treasury markets. His warning comes at a time when the U.S. faces its own fiscal challenges, including large budget deficits and increasing debt servicing costs. Pending home sales have experienced their steepest decline since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, signaling significant weakness in the housing market. This dramatic drop reflects the ongoing challenges facing the housing market, including elevated mortgage rates, high home prices, and affordability concerns that continue to sideline potential buyers. The sharp decline in pending sales suggests that the housing market may face continued headwinds in the coming months. In the cryptocurrency world, the CEO of Ripple made a bold prediction that cryptocurrency markets will reach all-time highs in 2025, signaling strong optimism about the digital asset sector's prospects. The prediction reflects growing confidence in the cryptocurrency market following recent regulatory developments and increased institutional adoption. Financial analysts have issued urgent warnings about potential U.S. dollar instability in connection with the nation's $38 trillion debt burden. The alert suggests markets should prepare for significant volatility in alternative assets like gold and Bitcoin as investors potentially seek hedges against dollar weakness. These are some serious macroeconomic concerns, digital pals. In tech news, oh boy, we've got some groovy developments. Adobe has introduced a new AI-powered feature in Acrobat that can convert PDF documents into podcast-style audio content. That's right, your boring old PDFs can now become podcasts. Adobe Acrobat now also lets you edit files using natural language prompts and automatically generate concise summaries of podcasts. These new features are designed to dramatically enhance productivity and streamline content interaction. OpenAI has implemented a new age prediction system in ChatGPT to help restrict content that minors can access on the platform. This represents a significant step in AI, safety, and content moderation as the company attempts to create age-appropriate guardrails. And speaking of OpenAI, the company announced commitments to make its data centers more sustainable by ensuring they pay for their own energy consumption and limiting water usage. This comes as AI companies face increasing scrutiny over the massive environmental footprint of training and running large language models. And get this, netizens, OpenAI is reportedly planning to launch its first consumer hardware device by 2026, with strong speculation pointing towards AI-powered earbuds. This strategic expansion signals a significant shift for OpenAI, moving beyond software into the competitive world of consumer electronics. The potential AI earbuds could offer groundbreaking features like real-time translation, advanced personal assistant functions, and personalized audio experiences. YouTube is set to introduce an innovative feature that will allow creators to generate shorts videos using AI models trained on their own likeness. This advancement aims to revolutionize content creation by enabling creators to produce more diverse content with greater ease and efficiency. And Meta's social media platform, Threads, has officially begun rolling out advertisements to its entire global user base, marking a pivotal moment as it moves to monetize its rapidly growing audience. Blue Origin unveiled its ambitious new satellite internet network, TerraWave, promising an astounding data transfer capability of 6 terabits per second. This groundbreaking development signifies a major leap forward in global connectivity. That's totally radical technology, cyber friends. Wikipedia volunteers have spent years documenting telltale signs that indicate content was generated by AI rather than written by humans, and now there's a browser plugin that helps users identify these AI-generated patterns in online content. The tool draws from the extensive catalog of AI tells compiled by Wikipedia contributors. In political news from the home front, House Speaker Mike Johnson has endorsed the impeachment of judges who rule against President Trump, marking a significant escalation in tensions between the executive and judicial branches. This statement represents a controversial position that could have major implications for the separation of powers. President Trump announced that prosecutions related to the 2020 election will soon be initiated against specific individuals. This statement signals a major development in the administration's approach to election-related investigations and is likely to intensify partisan divisions. Trump is planning an aggressive travel schedule with weekly trips across the country as the midterm elections approach. This intensive campaign effort signals the administration's focus on maintaining Republican control of Congress and supporting allied candidates. In a major policy intervention, President Trump signed an executive order aimed at preventing large institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes. The move addresses concerns about Wall Street's role in the housing affordability crisis and targets investment firms who have been acquiring residential properties, often outbidding individual homebuyers. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries has taken a position against legislation that would fund the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, representing a significant political stance on immigration enforcement funding. House Democrats are coming out en masse against the DHS funding bill, creating a major legislative battle. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has unveiled a $260 billion budget proposal that notably excludes any new taxes while increasing spending on programs for children. The massive spending plan represents a significant fiscal blueprint for the state. The budget proposal emphasizes investments in child-focused initiatives while maintaining current tax levels. And now, let's bring it home with some local New York news. Digital Pals. New York City and the surrounding area are bracing for a significant winter storm this weekend that could dump up to 1 foot of snow in some areas. The storm is expected to create hazardous travel conditions and potential disruptions to daily life. Meteorologists are closely monitoring the storm's path and intensity, and local officials are readying snow removal equipment and emergency services. So bundle up, netizens, and stay safe out there. An NYPD officer has been charged with perjury in connection with a gun case in Queens, raising serious questions about police testimony and the integrity of criminal proceedings. The charges are relatively rare and typically indicate serious allegations of misconduct that could affect multiple cases. A man was shot and killed at a supportive housing facility in Queens, marking another incident of violence in the area and raising concerns about safety and security at such facilities across the borough. The Rockaway Park subway platform is in a state of disrepair, causing significant inconvenience and frustration for commuters. The deteriorating conditions highlight broader infrastructure challenges facing New York City's aging transit system. Hudson River Park is terminating a long-standing parking contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, marking the end of a decades-long arrangement. The move comes amid ongoing debates about the role of federal immigration enforcement in New York City. New York City has failed to utilize millions of dollars allocated for public defense services, leaving significant funds untapped. A staggering $65 million in funding designated for the city's public defense system went unused. Public defenders have long complained about being understaffed and underfunded, making this revelation particularly troubling. New York residents have left an estimated $55 million in gift cards unredeemed, representing a significant amount of unused consumer spending power. The unused gift cards represent money that consumers have effectively forfeited, benefiting the retailers who issued them. St. John's University pulled off an impressive comeback victory against Seton Hall, overcoming a 15-point deficit to secure their 5th consecutive win. The victory continues St. John's strong momentum this season and energized the local fan base. And in some totally tubular sports news, Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh expressed his enthusiasm about the prospect of coaching Giants wide receiver Malik Nabers, calling it kind of a dream. The comments highlight the respect and admiration the veteran coach has for the talented young receiver. That's the news for today, cyber friends. We've surfed through constitutional crises, international diplomacy, market mayhem, technological breakthroughs, and local happenings from coast to coast. Remember to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp. Don't forget to bookmark reality. This is Big Back News, logging off. Free Sully, and catch you on the flip side.